question is, can you tell us more about, your Fansubber nickname or pseudonym, and kindly name some of your most notable projects for those who don't know?
Okay. So I guess my nick is Amrayu
Mhm.
is basically two J-pop singers that I was like really into. One was Amuro Namie,
Yes.
so that's the AMR part.
Mhm.
And then the second part is Ayu, which is, Ayumi Hamasaki.
Yeah,
So
yes.
that's I smashed the two together.
That's
So
great.
that's how I came up with it. And then SARS-Fansubs.
Mhm.
It actually became like this joke because SARS was happening at that
Yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. I remember.
So someone was joking about it, and then so they were like, "Why don't we call ourselves SARS?" It's a bit insensitive, I
Mhm.
know, like SARS fansubs, okay. But then later on, I'm like, okay, this sounds very insensitive, and
Mhm.
so it became kind of search and rescue subbers because
Mhm.
we had already kind of established like the name already, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to switch it. But
Yeah.
then eventually, SARS went away, and
Yes.
people kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
But then it kind of makes sense because like it in the we started off like subbing Gokusen,
Mhm.
which is one drama that everyone like has watched, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and then so Gokusen it was actually subbed by I think two other teams,
Mhm.
but they could not get beyond like episode 3 or something
Mhm.
like that. So then we're like, okay, let's kind of rescue this,
Mhm.
this kind of abandoned project. And that kind of became the theme, like with our team. Like if I saw like a project not being finished or like stalled, I'd reach out to that, other group and say, hey, do you need help? And then that's kind of how like, we've merged with several other teams too, because they stopped subbing for whatever reason. So we finished a lot of projects that were like stalled.
Mhm.
So
Can you name some of the projects that you work on that, of course, like a lot of people would probably recognize?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I have a few that I can name. So one was Gokusen,
Yes.
of course, Hana Yori Dango.
The
So I think a
iconic.
lot of people, yeah, everyone knows this one, right? And then what else? There's so many. Like Galileo, I think
Mhm.
is another one. And then which other one? No Dame,
Yes.
No Dame Cantabile.
Mhm.
So I think that's another one. What other ones are there? But I think those were the main kind of
Mhm.
dramas that kind of like
Yeah.
formed our group. Like
Yeah.
everyone knew like, okay, you guys, you
Yeah.
work on these kind of popular dramas.
Yeah, I think everyone who's seen Hana Yori Dango just knows that typeface, like the font that you use. It's very
Yeah.
like everyone's familiar with it, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
became like sort of like this unofficial official sub for the drama. Like,
I know.
tell us like who you are outside of your fansubber persona, just something that probably like what you're comfortable with sharing, like where you're from, what you do professionally, what people
Yeah.
personally call you outside of your pseudonym or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll just share my first name. My first name is Duong.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Vietnamese background. I'm Vietnamese American. Let's see what else. I live in California. I work for a tech company in the Silicon Valley. I most of my career has been, with tech companies. Like I started at a gaming website.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for Apple for a little bit. Well, 5 years or
Mm-hmm.
roughly. And after now, I'm working at a financial kind of tech company now. And I'm actually somehow I landed into, I started off like as a front end developer,
Mm-hmm.
like just working on websites. So like websites and stuff is like kind of my thing. And now I've landed into like this, I'm in localization now,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool given that, I have like, this kind of fan sub background,
Yeah.
which is this kind of hobby of like translating. So I've fallen into like this localization world where I see more of like the professional side of
Mhm.
like real translation
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just a PM, but
Mhm.
I see this whole new different process how like websites like localize stuff.
Mhm. I see.
That's yeah, and I have two kids, 5 and 7. Um, yeah, and I think that's it. And I
Mm.
have a partner. Yeah,
I
not
see.
married or anything.
Now, another reason why I also wanted to make this series is that, you know, how with fans, like they tend to demand sometimes if subs are a little bit late than when the episode came
Yeah,
out. And so I also wanted people to realize that, you know, outside of fan subbing, subbers also have their like own lives as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah. When I started subbing, I was like in my early 20s, and I was still in college at the
mhm,
time. So it was tough, like going to school full time
mhm,
and then subbing like at night or during, after school. So I feel like and I had like, relationships at the time. So it kind of suffered in a way.
mhm,
So like,
mhm.
so my partner, yeah, it's a bit like, you kind of sacrifice, part of your life to fan sub. And
Mhm,
yeah, so part of that is like kind of like bittersweet. Like, yeah, I enjoy like,
mhm,
releasing content for fans, but
mhm.
then in a way it takes away from like my personal life
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, you know, you started doing it back when you were in your early 20s in college. So what do you remember like when you first start watching J-dramas, and what was it about it that made you fall in love with it to the point that, you know, you realized that you wanted to do subbing?
Mhm. So luckily, like we had a channel on TV. We had this kind of international channel,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would occasionally, I think it was every like Saturday or Sunday. It was during the weekend, and they would always show like Japanese dramas. Sometimes they would even show like Korean dramas too at that
Mm-hmm.
time. But I wasn't so interested in the Korean dramas. So my first one, I don't even know the name of the first one I watched because like I think I watched it like maybe halfway through the series. Um, but it was about like a manga like illustrator, and I think she lived with her mom or something. So it's very old. It was like in the, maybe early 90s or something like that. So I don't know what the name is, but that was like my first like time watching dramas. And then after that I watched Long Vacation. So
Mm-hmm.
that was in the 90s, right? So that one, luckily I was able to watch it like on TV, and like when it would come on, I would like record it on VHS tape. And then yeah, luckily it was like all translated for us. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's my first experience like watching Japanese dramas. So maybe several years after that, because I graduated high school in 97. I know I'm pretty old, right? So 97, and then I went to college in Stockton for a little bit for 2 years. That's where I'm originally from. And then I went to school in San Francisco
Mhm,
for like three or 4 years, something like that. I took a long time
mhm,
finishing college, but I think yeah. So it was when I was in San Francisco already. I started fan subbing because that's when there's this forum called J Drama.
mm,
It was like a really old forum, and many of the old fansubbers kind of originated from there. And then there's this one guy, he started D Addicts.
mm,
So he used to be on, yeah, he used to be on this J drama forum,
Mm.
and he started this torrent site,
Mm.
yeah, specifically for Japanese dramas, right? And then, me and him were kind of buddy buddy or whatever.
Mm.
And then and then the first upload I did was like Kami-sama Mosco Shidake.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I started uploading the raws for that. And then I had noticed, okay, like someone has recorded a subbed version of it from TV. And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, the quality is so bad, and like, it's like you can barely watch it. But somehow I got a hold of that, and I had the DVD set of
Mhm.
Kami-sama mo Dake, right? So then I'm like, okay, this is my first project because I wanted a higher quality, experience.
Mhm.
And then at that time, my Japanese was like, so. It was
Mhm.
like, kind of okay to get by. So I started transcribing. I learned like the tools they use, but there was not as much details and
Yeah.
tutorials around this at that time. So it was kind of like trial and error. So I used what was it called? Substation Alpha,
Mhm.
which is a subbing
Mhm.
program.
Mhm.
And then I just started typing. I learned how to time, and I encoded it with the video, and I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. Like, and I would watch the final product. I'm like, wow, this is nice. But then, I was still like learning along the way.
Mm.
So I just uploaded it to the addicts, and then I think some of the more established groups, they noticed that I was doing it. And then, so one of the guys from JTV, which was
Mhm.
another group,
Yes.
he reached out to me, and then he started kind of mentoring me. He
Mm.
taught me like how to encode stuff. He taught me how to use like a different program they use. And then like there's all this kind of coding that can go into the subs to make like, karaoke effects
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I learned all of this like from him along the way. So he kind of like mentored me for the first maybe 2, 3 years. And then that's when we started SARS Fansubs. So I
Mm.
started off with him.
Now you mentioned that because of different people that you've met, someone mentoring you in the community and stuff like that. So how would you say has the J drama community or the fansubber community changed from then to now, just based from your experience or your observations or anything like that?
From then and now, back then we were a bit more scrappy back then,
Yeah.
right? There was not as many sources for raws.
Mm-hmm.
So either you would have to like rely on someone buying the DVD set,
Mm-hmm.
which those cost like, $200-300 or something. And then for like a college student, that's like,
Mm-hmm.
your rent or your books for the semester, right? So yeah, so we were a bit more scrappy back then because we had to like find the raws. We had to encode, the DVDs. We had to rely on people um converting VHS to like and
Mm-hmm.
digitize it, right? Or someone, getting it from a TV stream and encoding it. So we had to rely on the community as a whole to kind of gather all of
Mm-hmm.
this. And then there was no such thing as like Japanese captions at the
Yeah.
time. So we had to translate time and everything by ear. So you would listen, and then, we had translator just translating based off of what they heard. Um, but now everything is a lot easier. Um, Before it was all centralized, like
Mm-hmm.
it was just the addicts mainly,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then that the torrent site got shut down. But now there's other torrent sites, but they're like all private. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit harder. But there's like one that's probably public. But not many people seeding there. But yeah, compared to now, everything is like readily available. So now you have like it could be 3, 4 different versions of one drama that's available. But now that everything's kind of like decentralized and it's not very, it's not collated as enough.
Mm-hmm.
enough. Fan servers have to kind of like pick their sources,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have to think about, okay, who is supplying the raw or the video, um, so everyone can watch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like certain groups and factions that share their files, but sometimes it's hard to find the right one that
Mm-hmm.
syncs with the subtitle,
Yes,
because maybe
exactly.
the fan server just stuck with one,
Yeah.
raw. So this is like kind of like a sticky point for right now,
Mm-hmm.
because then now like the fans, and then some fan subbers, they'll actually retime it for the
Mm.
different versions, but that's kind of rare, I
Mm.
feel. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of like how the landscape of fan
Mm.
subbing is now. Maybe it's very similar in a way, um, but yeah, they have it a lot easier now,
Mm.
I feel. There's more choice.
Now, speaking of that, so I know that one of the most like sensitive topics when it comes to fan subbing is that, especially from then to now, are streaming sites, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so one of the things that I want to ask, because some of the fan subbers that I've interviewed for this series, like the newer ones, they're a little bit more okay or open with it. Like some said that they're using it to amplify their presence more as a fan subber, while others,
Mhm,
there's still this idea of, these sites are stealing the subs, not really getting the consent of the subbers and putting it in their websites.
mhm.
What's your personal take on that? And yeah, just general thought about the entire thing.
Yeah, so I know this topic is very like sensitive, because some subbers will, it's like a very broad
Mm.
spectrum. It's either like no, they're so
Yes.
bad, and yes, they're,
Yes.
they're
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been kind of this evolution.
Mm.
So I started subbing maybe 20 years ago. But when I first started, there was not many streaming sites before.
Mm.
Maybe like later on when I started subbing, what was it? It's like crying out in the middle of the world or something like that, with that one drama. I think like initially I saw these people like uploading to these stream sites. They'll plaster like ads everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, I was like, why are they doing that? It's like they're earning money from like off of my hard work,
Mm.
right? But then I'm thinking, okay, fan subbing itself is not exactly like legal. Anyways, like I don't own the video content. I only own like the subtitle
Mm.
part, right? So I'm like, okay, who am I to say, like, because we're both in a gray area, I feel. So
Mm.
um like, why complain about what they're doing? Because in a way we're kind of doing something similar in a
Mm.
way. Um But initially, I was against it, and I even encoded something like a drama with some like an annoying like kind of disclaimer on the side.
Mm.
I'm like, if you streaming this, like you're being ripped off, like
Yeah, yeah,
visit
yeah.
to visit blah 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 blah, right? So so I was very against it initially. But eventually, like now, like I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like okay with it.
Mm.
Um, it's like the files are already out there,
Mm.
so there's not much I can do to like
Mm.
stop them. I don't own that content per se,
Mm.
so yeah, that's this. I'm not like okay with it. I'm just
Yeah.
like, there's nothing that much I
Yeah.
can do, right? So
Mm.
it's better for me to not like waste my energy,
Mm.
and this negative
Yeah.
energy that
Mm.
I it's not for me. It's like I'd rather put this energy towards something more
Mm.
productive
Yeah.
and positive, right? So that's my whole stance on it.
Out of all the dramas that you've subbed, which one or at least a couple of titles do you think is the most memorable to you and why?
The ones that I subbed. Yeah, most likely it's Gokusen because that was like my first
Mm-hmm.
real one. Um, and because like I felt like it was such an accomplishment to finish a drama that these other teams couldn't finish. And there's a lot of talking
Mm-hmm.
and yelling and stuff
Exactly.
in Gokusen. So I understand it's hard. It's a
Yeah.
hard drama to finish. Um, so for me, like Gokusen is since it's like the real first one, it's like it
Mm-hmm.
holds a soft spot for me. But and also like Hana Yori Dango
Mm-hmm.
is another one because the excitement around it when we first started you know and I think we were subbing like two other dramas at the same time, which is like crazy to
Mm-hmm.
even think about. Like during one season it was like Hana Yori Dango, and then it was like No Dame, and then there was like some other one, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is crazy, right? But then it was so exciting at that time because like everyone was so like looking forward to watch our releases. And like how you said, like the styling, we
Mm-hmm.
call it typesetting,
Yeah.
like the fonts, the coloring and stuff like that, it became like kind of synonymous with Hana Yori
Yes, yes,
Dango.
exactly. It's as
Yeah.
iconic as the drama itself.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you're not the only one that I've like heard this from. And then so like for me, I'm like, oh, it's like really touching that like, people kind of like associate like our team's name with like Hana Yori Dango and like Gokusen.
Yes.
So those are the most memorable ones for me.
Any least favorite things like that you've worked on?
Least favorite. Well, it's a bit hard. But was it Hot Man season 2? But for, as a subber, it's very hard to like watch other dramas outside of what you're subbing because you don't have much time
Yeah.
anyway. Um, so most of your time, like what I watch in the past, is ones that I've only subbed.
Mm-hmm.
So Hot Man, I think it was season 2. Like I don't know why, but
Mm-hmm.
we didn't sub the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even remember watching the first season. And then I think someone from our team wanted us to work on it, so I'm like, fine. So this one I felt was just like, and the lead actor in it, he's a bit cheesy. That might be controversial, but it's Sorimachi Takashi, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit like cheesy in this
Mm-hmm.
drama. Um, that was probably my least favorite, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
How about, like, for example, it can be something that you worked on before or something that other people have worked on before, but what are certain dramas that you can say that you can rewatch over and over again? Personal favorites.
Hmm. Yeah, this is a hard one. It's probably Miss Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
I personally I didn't sub it, but I transcribed. It was on HBO Max,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's kind of like it's a kind of a global release. I think it was,
yes.
yeah, it was available here in the US.
Mm.
So but then I watched it I downloaded the raws, and then there was like Chinese subs and Korean subs.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard sub too.
Mm.
So I picked this up and I transcribed it from the real release
Mm.
from the HBO subtitles. I ripped them and I was transcribing it. And this was like in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Miss Sherlock is, I watched it. I was like, wow, this is like really fun. And like Takeichi Yuko, she's
Mm.
like, she's one of my favorite
Mm.
actresses, and just her just how she represented like Sherlock, like her
Yes,
own
yes.
version of Sherlock is like very like fun to watch, and like these little like nuances in that she would put into like her performance was like, it was so like funny and like enjoyable to watch. Like she would have like these kind of weird quirks. Like she was always like messing around with
Yes,
something.
yes, yes.
Like there was one scene she was like, I think she was messing around with some kind of what was it? Like tempura, the
Mm,
stuff that tempura is, like the crunchy stuff. It was in a bowl, I think, and then she was like just piling it on to like this guy's
mhm,
plate, and I was
mhm,
like, "What the heck is she doing?" So, and there was another scene where like she was this guy was bowing, and then
mhm,
she like his hair was kind of curly, and she was like twirling it around. I was like, "What?" So there's like it's mainly her performance in
mm.
that drama, which I really enjoyed.
You say is the most fulfilling thing or fulfilling aspect of fan subbing and also the most challenging part of it?
See, the most fulfilling. Let's see. Part of it, it's like I get enjoyment in sharing with like using my skills. I get to share like what I've produced, subtitles, to people who can't,
Mhm,
you know, can't read or can't speak Japanese,
mhm,
right? So that's like the fulfilling part of it, because, it takes a while to learn a language. So, and then people are, they're gaining something from like my skills. So,
mhm,
and being able to kind of receive like emails or messages from people saying like, oh, you helped me through like a dark time, or I was depressed, and your subs like helped me get some enjoyment out of life or something like that. So I've received like emails and messages like this. So for me, that's like the most fulfilling part. I get to help people, and that's, in the end, that's all it is. I just want to like help people.
mhm. How about the most
um
challenging side of it?
the most challenging part of it is of course, like, it's not legal per se. That part of it is a bit scary. But also, like, there's a lot of different personalities in the community. Sometimes views like clash.
Mhm.
That part of it I don't really like too much. I try to stay out of.
Yeah,
I call it the
the
drama in,
drama.
you know, yeah, this is the drama that I don't like.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of conflicting opinions about like what you said, like streaming sites, like people don't like that.
Mhm,
Some people are like sensitive to certain comments.
mhm,
um, but then that's up to them how they react to it.
mhm,
But I feel some people kind of dwell on it too much, because when you're releasing something public, content or whatever, subtitles, people will make comments about it.
mhm.
Bad feedback, good feedback, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. It's gonna all come at you. Not everyone's gonna like what you do.
Mhm.
So part of it, you have to develop this thick skin to kind of endure like the comments. And
Mm,
then for some people, they can't deal with that.
mm,
um so yeah, that's the one part. And some people, they have like this kind of Twitter rant, like, and they rant about like whatever. They're allowed to do that, of course, but I feel some people may, you know it's too much kind of negative energy spent on that. Like, whoever made that comment, doesn't matter, who
mm.
cares, just move along and go do what you do, right?
Yeah.
Go sub and go do something else, because
Yeah.
I feel like all this negative kind of drama is, it eats away at, at your your being, I feel. So, and it stresses you out, and there's better things to worry about. That's,
Mm.
you know, you just pick your battles, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Is there like a fansubber unspoken etiquette or rule book that most of the fansubbers in the community follow?
So, most of this came from roles developed at D Addicts.
No.
Um, so there's a couple that, you know, fansubbers, most of them follow.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is like, you one, you should announce what you're gonna pick.
Mm.
And then, but then some people don't like it when you announce too early.
Like
Because even
gatekeep.
like, yeah, like the drama has not even aired yet, so why are you announcing it, right?
Yeah.
But some people, they have their reasons for picking it. It could
Mm.
be like they like the script writer, they like the cast, or something like that, right? So, okay, so that's one. It's you have to announce, and the second one is you shouldn't sub something that someone else sub
Mm.
at the same time. So I don't really agree with this. I mean, if someone else wants to sub that drama too, then go ahead. But I feel like the J drama community, it's small as it is,
Mm.
there's not enough resources,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess. So people would rather like fan servers pick something else that's not subbed, right?
Yes.
Because there's so many dramas that have not
Mm.
been subbed. So that's another rule. And then, but then there's people who have like broken that rule too.
Mm.
So like a good one is like, you know, Hana Yori Dango, when we subbed it, I think two other teams were subbing it at the same time too.
Mm.
But then yeah, so it's like it didn't bother me that another team was subbing it. And for me, I was like, okay, this is kind of like a healthy competition kind of thing, you know, like who can get it out like faster or better quality or whatever, right?
Mm.
So in a way, it kind of motivates you
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Um, so that's number two. Number three, like someone started something already, and then another random person
Yeah.
just randomly comes in and starts subbing from where they left off. Usually people want the other subber to get permission first,
Yes.
and then they can continue on.
Yeah.
So that's another unspoken kind of rule. And then of course the fourth one is like don't upload it to stream sites,
Mm.
um, and give like the community more scrutiny, you know,
Mm.
because we're worried about copyright, you know, strikes and whatever.
Mhm.
So I think those were probably the main ones.
On to my last two questions. So first is where can they reach you? Like what other platforms can people reach you if they want to like just send messages of thanks or anything
Mhm.
like that? So
Yeah, so I used to I have our site is SARSFansubs.com. I think
Mhm.
there's a dash in it. I think it's SARS-fansubs.com. But right now I've taken it offline, so it's
Mm.
like kind of in this weird maintenance mode because I received a copyright strike.
Mhm.
So I'm still kind of figuring out how to revive it.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I've created a new site with some people because D Addicts, there was a new owner for D
Mhm.
Addicts, and he, when was it? In 2019, I think he took over and he said, "Oh, I'm going to shut down this forum."
Mm.
So all of the fan subbers were freaking out a bit. So when I heard this announcement, we did our best to kind of back up all of the subtitles and everything like that. So now this has kind of evolved into another site that I'm maintaining and creating, and that's
Mm.
drama-otaku.com.
Yes.
So that's where people can find me. There's a contact page there, I think, and it has like my Twitter handle, which is SARSFansubs, and then there's a Discord link there. So we have a Discord channel related to this site. So I'm reachable there.
Last but not the least, so what is your message to people who've enjoyed your works over the years, like fans of your work, such as myself?
Yeah, so my message to fans, like thank you, because without your support, I don't think I would be doing it, right? Like if there's no one watching your work, then it's a bit, it's pointless. So because of fans, we're doing this. That's why it's called Fansubbers,
Mm.
right? So so we do this, out of I do this out of love for, the fans. I just want to help out. We're kind of in a limbo state right now. Like we haven't been releasing much.
Mhm.
I had two kids. I was pregnant, so a lot of real life things, prevented me from subbing recently. But I hope to get back into it. Yeah, so that's my message to the fans. It's like
Mm.
thank you for the support, and I'm like touched by the messages. So, and I just want to help everyone. That's
Mm.
it.
So thank you as well for the opportunity. I'm really, really happy that I'm able to like talk to you guys and hear your stories and then learn other things about you that is probably like other people are also curious about. But yeah, like what do these people do outside of fansubbing? So I don't know. It's
Hmm.
also a very just exciting experience for me, and I'm really happy that you allowed me to learn more about you so much again, and have an
Yeah,
amazing
thank
day.
you. You too. Bye.